All right, I've got 11:02 on my computer. So for those that have joined us, thank you. We'll get started to maximise everybody's time. So just by way of introduction, so good morning. My name's Michael Ladewig and I'm the National Sales Manager for Agriculture here at Vicchem. Welcome to our first instalment of the Vicchem Grow Smarter series, where we plan to share some knowledge and expertise related to some of the challenges faced in a growing environment. Today, we're going to be discussing the issues of summer knockdown and how outright 770 can make a difference in delivering better performance out of a herbicide application. I'm really pleased to be joined by three experts and really well-credentialed colleagues here at Vicchem who are going to talk on subject matter related to the development of outright 770, current trial work that's been undertaken, what we see for the season ahead, and some tips for best results on farm. So I'm joined today by Peter Jones, our development and technical manager here at technical services manager, I should say, here at Vicchem, Richard Holschnecht, our research development and extension manager, and also Jesh Smith, our New South Wales territory manager, and who's also an independent agronomist. So guys, we'll get started. I'll throw some questions to you as the panel. And to kick things off, knowing that recent rainfall is really going to promote excessive weed growth and increase the complexity of summer knockdown, Pete, let's start with you, and I'll get you to tell us a little bit about the science behind outright 770 and what makes it different.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. So I'm Peter Jones. I'm the technical manager here at the Vicchem Coolaroo facility. I manage the formulations and the quality control, and I've been around forever, so I guess I can give some stories about the history. But if I go back to the concept that has become outright, I think it goes back to quite some time when some Vicchem representatives were travelling in Western Australia, promoting what was then a new product, hasten spray adjuvant. And they were confronted by probably an agronomist, and I don't know that we've got any record of who it was, but they said, when we do our fallow spraying, we're required to add, ammonium sulfate, often a wetting agent and often an oil. And, we're sick of adding three adjuvants. We're adding a concoction of herbicides. How about you come up with an adjuvant that contains all of those ingredients to serve that purpose? And so that message came back to our lab, to me, and I think my first response was, well, no, that sounds pretty difficult. Putting those ingredients, they're not going to formulate well together, and how do we get the right proportions and everything? But anyway, we persisted with that and started a program to come up with a multifunctional adjuvant containing oil, wetting agents, and ammonium sulfate. And eventually we got some lab protocols or some lab samples that appeared useful, and we put them into trials. And our first glasshouse work, working with glyphosate, was very disappointing. And it was apparent in retrospect that we'd used the wrong types of components. We've been focusing on just putting together a product. And fairly quickly, we were able to focus then on getting the right sort of oil, the right sort of surfactants, and the right proportion of ammonium sulfate. And the next glasshouse trials we did, I think we were delighted with, and I think we've developed products from that technology that are very useful as adjuvants for herbicides. So that's the history, I guess, going back a long way. The first iteration of that was a product we called Hotter, which was based on mineral oil, non-ionic surfactants, and ammonium sulfate. And more recently, we've come out with the outright technology.
So Pete, just touching on that and thinking about the development, outright 770 contains hasten technology. What does that mean for those on the call?
Yeah, so as I said, the first iteration of this sort of multifunctional oil surfactant wetting agent, we used mineral oil, or a paraffinic mineral oil. I think we're always aware that the oil that's in hasten is a better penetrating ingredient that works particularly well with a range of selective herbicides. And so we set about reformulating what was Hot Up to use the hasten type oil. And that's become outright. So outright contains the same oil component as Hasten, and the properties that brings to sort of penetrating the leaf surface to make certain herbicides work better is common to both those products. So again, the program to do that was not easy. The formulating challenges, getting the right balance of ingredients, and I think as we look at it now, outright remains a unique product. It's essentially the only product of that type available around the world, as far as we're aware. It's technology that was developed here in Australia by Vicchem to meet the needs of Australian farmers.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, thanks, Peter. So Richard, if I turn to you, if you can just give us some information and some background on the trial work that you're currently undertaking to help better guide agronomists around the use of adjuvants, and in particular, where does Outright 770 fit in our fallow spray program?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. Yeah, and I'm Richard Holsnick, obviously the Research Development Extension Manager here at Vicchem. Look, it really is quite an interesting product. So I first started working doing the contract research when I was working in contract research and doing trial work for Vicchem. So back a number of years ago, and the primary focus at the time was to look at how Outright 770 works in and under hard water conditions. So the primary component of Outright obviously is the Hasten or the MSO component, which is quite valuable, but it also contains AMS. Now the AMS does help to ameliorate hard water scenarios. And so the original trial work was looking at how that product worked under those conditions with glyphosate and in our common tank mix partners, both with 2,4-D and also the group 14s or saflufenicil coming through at that time. So it's quite an interesting combination that helps a lot of the products that we put in our common tank mixes, Michael. So that's really the focus. Originally was around hard water. We've subsequently looked at the value of Outright, both not in hard water, but also in normal good quality water. And we're seeing the similar or significant benefits under normal conditions as well. And it's helping all the products in the tank mix. So the AMS not only helps with hard water, but can also help products, particularly things like glyphosate, glufosinate, and actually helps to pull them across the leaf membrane as well. So they're working not only as an ameliorant for hard water conditions, which can adversely impact glyphosate and glufosinate, but it's also actively helping the uptake and increasing the efficacy of those key knockdown molecules that we know are under resistant stress. So we know that when we start mixing, we're often not just putting in glyphosate and glufosinate or those other knockdown paraquats in the tank mix. We're also looking to add a range of different products. Now those products, glyphosate, paraquat, glufosinate, traditionally like a non-ionic surfactant as their major adjuvant package. But a lot of the mix partners that we're now using to provide better resistance or control of hard-to-kill broadleaf weeds tend to be in the lipophilic type requirement. So we've got this real sort of tank mix paradox. How do we benefit everything in the tank mix, Michael? And the beauty of what the ratio that we've got in Outright, as Peter sort of explained, we balance the need for AMS for the hard water to penetrate. We balance the mix for the group 14s, which are highly dependent on an MSO component. Plus, we've got a high level of non-ionic surfactant that helps in general for the spreading and the coverage of our hard-to-kill weeds. So that's where we're sitting in terms of the product fit, how it fits in that early development. But as I said, the new sort of development is really looking at how it just fits with all tank mixes, because our product split has moved. So we've done a lot of work recently in pot trials, just looking at the amelioration capacity under hard water of Outright. And the recent data, and we're happy to share it with anyone after this, send me an email and happy to share it, just showing how the AMS within Outright can actually, at different rates, control up to 750 or plus parts per million hard water conditions. So it's quite effective in its strategy, and the recent trial work supporting that. But we're looking at more trial work. We're also looking with the potential loss of paraquat. We're also focusing new research into glyphosate and understanding it in pod trials and looking at controlled environment scenarios to see whether the outright can actually help to improve the glyphosate can be a little bit fickle under different environmental conditions. Can we actually help to improve its efficacy and standard across a range of different environmental conditions? So yeah, we're spending a lot of money to position and understand this product, how it fits in the spray and knockdown scenarios, and there'll be more information to come out in the future, Michael.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Richard. And I guess just from your perspective and your experience over the years as well, how do you see the season shaping up for both agronomists and farmers over the next coming months? Richard?
Yeah, no, look, we've obviously had quite a bit of recent rain across much of the southern and also eastern areas. But we're also coming up to a really quite critical time of the year. Christmas just around the corner. We all get busy, and we start to see. We've already seen some earlier concerns around spray drift issues already popping up in the season. So, look, it's critical that we utilise spray mixtures, and I think Jess has probably got a good idea and better handle on all the opportunities at this time of year. But it is a critical period where we don't want to cause adverse drift onto equities and other issues. So that rain will see germinations occur in the next couple of months, and we are leading up to that crunch time. So product choice will be quite critical. Jess, do you want to sort of comment about some of the opportunities from there?
Yeah, so I guess coming into this busy time of year, things are going to be hectic. Things have already been hectic for those who've been busy with harvest. There's many who are tools down at the moment for quite some time until we can get a run of weather together to drop the moisture in the crop enough to have another crack. So yeah, there's going to be plenty of opportunity coming up to try and get on top of weeds that may have crept through already, where you may be looking to use, you're trying to tackle monsters and you're talking about using some of these group 14s that Richard's talking about, that outright and hasten fit in really well with, or, whatever you might be trying to tackle. Preferably, we're always trying to tackle small things. So yeah, I guess I'll segue into having my bit of a yarn. So some tips. So I was asked to talk about some tips moving into this time of year where we're moving into summer fallow. So as I'm suggesting, one of the most critical things in farming is timing. We're all well aware of that. Summer fallow is absolutely no different. The best thing we can do is try and tackle smaller weeds. Generally a lot simpler. You don't have to typically come up with really complex brews. Generally gives a lot better result, and which results in it being more cost effective. Well aware that it can be a delicate balancing act between the logistics of physically being able to get across your country, depending on how much area you're farming, and then the constant look at weather systems impending to understand, should I be spraying now? There's a system coming at the end of the week. Should I wait till next week? So it's a big balancing act. We're all aware of that, but the best thing you can do is try and tackle small weeds as much as possible. We've also got, as we come to summer, hotter weather, high delta Ts, and concerns with spray drift and inversions around summer crop, particularly around horticulture as well, but around things like cotton and beans. So things to be conscious of. Throw out a quick figure from the GRDC about the importance of summer fallow management. So they often quote $5 to $7 return on investment per dollar spent on fallow control. So that's a pretty big, significant return on investment if we're able to do things right. So outright fits into that space, into making things easier, because it's a convenient liquid solution. So it speeds up your tank mixing process. So when you're using bagged AMS, we all know you have that lag phase where you wait for the lovely joyous stuff to dissolve, and then You should, in theory, realistically, have another lag phase where you're waiting for that water to then properly, once it's dissolved, to properly agitate through your tank to really treat all the water that's in there, to try and remove any hard water cations. So when you tip in products like glyphosate, there's less chance of a reaction. When you're using something like Outright 770 that is a liquid solution already, you get in the tank, you give it a little bit of agitation, and the work's already done. So it just makes that so much easier. And then it comes from the convenience of, historically, most people would normally be using, as Peter Jones was talking about, 2 or 3 products in a tank mix from an adjuvant perspective. So, something like an ammonium sulfate, VC 700 or something like that, using Outright instead of using 2 or 3 products, and especially a bag product, crystal product like AMS, you've got to wait to dissolve. You got 1 product. So it makes it so much faster for it to literally get into your tank and start to work. Whether that's tipping it out of a 20-litre drum, sucking it out of a 110-litre or an IBC. Outright 770 spray adjuvant really makes the fallow adjuvant decision-making process so much simpler. It's convenient, ultimately helps farmers to try and spend more time spraying and less time mixing up. Quick other thing I want to have a chat about, something I really want to flag. Water is typically the cheapest ingredient we're putting into our spray tanks, but it's also generally one of the least thought about components, and it can have a significant impact on your efficacy. So whether you're going to get a good kill or not. So unless you're exclusively using rainwater, I would strongly encourage you to test your water sources to better understand what products could be impacted by your water quality. We offer a free or a complimentary water testing service as part of our Outright 770 spray adjuvant marketing campaign. You jump on the website, outright770.com.au, and request a free water testing kit. Send that water sample back to our lab via AusPost, and our chemists will test it, and you get the results pretty quickly. To summarize, look at your water, make sure you're using the right stuff, and take a simple approach when it comes to trying to tackle some fallow small weeds, so they're cheaper and easier to control, and try and minimize tackling monsters. We know we're going to have some after the back of a wet harvest, and for those who might not have been able to get on or had an opportunity to put a post-emergent on, so make sure you get onto those as quickly as possible, and minimize seed set and stop some of those monsters robbing you of moisture and nutrient. That's nutrients are pretty expensive, as we know. Fertilizer is not cheap, and it also minimises the potential of having that green bridge for pests and diseases to be able to carry on for your crop into the next season.
That's awesome, Jesh. Thank you. Some great tips there, and really talking about why Outright 770 is important and how it works on farm. So thanks very much for that. So for those that have joined us today, thank you. That's a wrap as far as the panel goes. We wanted to keep this succinct as far as our first webinar goes today. I'd like to thank Peter, Jesh and Richard for joining us, and everybody else who's come onto the call today. Been a real focus around sharing insights related to Outright 770 and how it assists to solve problems. In particular, boosting herbicide performance, simplifying your tank mixing process, and saving time and effort on farm. As Jesh mentioned, if you want to find out any further information, you can visit outright770.com.au, or you can contact Vicchem direct at agsales@vicchem.com. We look forward to sharing more information in future editions of the Vicchem Grow Smarter series. Thanks very much, everyone, and have a Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.